Watch collecting doesn't need to be expensive, and the watch we're going to look at today is proof of that. But kind of a bigger thing to celebrate is the fact that we're allowed outside now. Welcome to Mark and Jack, I'm Adrian, and we are back in the Scottish countryside. We're allowed out of the house, finally. We are still officially in lockdown, social distancing, shops aren't open, hairdressers are not open. That's why you're just going to have to put up with the whatever this is, you're just going to have to deal with it. But I'm allowed out, and it feels good to get out of the house. Ages ago, I had a job interview. It was a very long time ago, and it didn't go well. The interviewer was a prick, to put it nicely. But we got onto the topic of talking about watches. He was wearing a one-handed Meistersinger, and he made the comment of, "Oh, you're into collecting watches. It's an expensive hobby, isn't it?" I wasn't interested in engaging with him and having a conversation about watches, and so I just said to him, I humoured him, laughed it off, and just said, "Yeah, it is. But it's just a hobby. It's as expensive as you make it. It's as expensive as you want it to be. There is a luxury element to watches, but the luxury part is just one segment." And that's kind of my point of this video, and there's going to be a few other videos as well, is that I want to highlight watches that I think are true watches that have a proper purpose, or rather a proper heritage, that aren't expensive, that are accessible and affordable. When I say affordable, I mean with all of these fashion, flash in the pan watch brands that are coming around that call themselves affordable, these fit into that category. So sub 200, sub 300 pound watches. This watch I paid 60 quid for, and this is the first one that I'm going to show you. It's a CWC G10. As you can see, it's just a very simple Swiss-made quartz field watch. But the difference is with this watch, it isn't field watch styled. It isn't military inspired. This is the real thing. This was issued by the Ministry of Defence for the British military. It's a real military watch. CWC, or Cabot Watch Company, started in 1972 by Ray Mellor. He was previously the ex-managing director of Hamilton Watches, UK. He served in the Merchant Navy during World War II, ferrying troops and supplies across the Atlantic, and he went on to name CWC after John Cabot, the 15th century Atlantic explorer. The CWC G10 was first issued in the military in 1980, and it was issued all the way through to 2008. During that time, CWC created 200,000 watches just for the military. The one that I have is the most recent version. There are the earlier versions which are called the Fat Boy, and that's because they had a slightly larger case, having to house a slightly larger ETA movement. I understand now that the military don't issue out any watches, but the kind of go-to watches are, of course, G-Shocks and the standard Casio F91Ws. Just as a side note, because you've probably noticed my thumb, the blackness and the shininess by now, I was doing some DIY. I slipped with the drill, and the drill went into my thumb and shattered my thumbnail. As the drill bit went in, it was still spinning, so it shattered the nail going in, but then twisted everything around. So I pushed it back down, and it was really quite painful. I kept catching the bits on stuff, so I wanted something clear that was going to protect it. And kind of just hold it together again. So I was going to super glue it, but then I engaged my brain and remembered that there's a special substance called nail varnish. So I went out to the shops and I bought some nail varnish, and there's about 9 coats of nail varnish on here to kind of build up the layers so that the spiky bits are no longer spiking out. It's all flat now, and it's just black because it's blood. Just thought I'd clear that up. Let's talk about the specifications of this watch. So the case itself is just over 36mm wide, which is going to be too small for a lot of people. I know, because I quite like smaller watches, so it's not really an issue for me. The case has 50 meters of water resistance, which isn't amazing considering this is supposed to be a military watch. The glass is only acrylic, which has its plus points because it's more shock resistant than sapphire, but it scratches very easily. Then again, the scratches are very easy to get out with Polywatch. The strap pins might be an issue for people. As what they had to do with the mill subs, they had to weld the strap pins in so they were solid, and so spring bars can be quite weak if you're in a physical environment. So this has solid fixed strap pins. You're going to have to use a NATO strap with this. Of course you are. It's a NATO watch. You need NATO straps. Just like the NATO straps that we have over at bargainjack.shop. Oh, that was too easy. That one was just too easy to feed into. But this is a Buck and Jack NATO strap. Annoyingly, the lug width on these CWC G10s are 19mm wide. We don't have any 19mm wide straps over at buckandjack.shop, but all of the 20mm wide NATO straps will fit this 19mm wide lug hole. Why do they fit? They fit because the case has a nice cut-out bit, which means that the strap can just be fed in a little bit and then yanked through. You're not going to cut up or scuff the strap like you would on a Rolex. This has enough of a gap for you to just yank that NATO strap through, and you have to have it on a NATO strap. That's what this thing's all about. Jump over to buckandjack.shop and check out the straps we have over there. Do bear in mind though, in about a month's time we are going to have 19mm wide NATO straps. The movement is the ETA 955.114. It's a 7 jewel quartz movement, which has also been used in Tag Heuer divers of the same era and the Zenith Defy of the same era. One battery will last you 9 years on this thing, and if you have to change your battery, it couldn't be more simple. You've just got this little door on the back of the watch with a little coin slot, so you can just unscrew this little door and there's your battery. Job done. The accuracy isn't groundbreaking, but it's fairly decent for a non-thermocompensated quartz. It's 15 seconds a month. On the dial we have a really nice matte black dial with these really bright white numerals, and then all of the lume around on the hands and on the markers, that is all tritium. So that's the front of the watch, but if I'm honest, it's quite like a mechanical watch. The cool stuff is on the back. We have the broad arrow, which is the symbol of the British military or British military issued items, and it shows that this is or was property of the British government. You will see the broad arrow symbol on the latest Omega James Bond Seamaster. No, that wasn't property of the British government. There's just no protection around this broad arrow symbol, so anyone is free to use it. The W10 means that this has been army issued. Each branch of the military will have its own code, and so this shows which branch it's been issued to. We then have the 7091, which is the issue number and shows that this has actually been handed to a military personnel, and the year was 2006. That's what the last two numbers are for. The importance of these numbers on the back are to show that this watch was actually issued. It was a genuine kind of military CWC. You can buy brand new CWC watches, but they don't have these numbers on because they weren't ever issued. And for me, it's kind of half of the story side of it all, the kind of connection to the watch, is that the fact this was actually issued. My dad used to be in the RAF, and when I told him that I'd bought this watch, he laughed because he said people just don't wear that. I can't believe you paid money for that thing, because people just didn't wear them. They weren't seen as cool. When you got issued them, you just put them in your sock drawer and just left it. You just didn't wear them. But if you look at the imprint, or how imprinted the NATO strap is on the back of this watch, I kind of feel like the person actually wore this. Also, when I bought this off eBay a couple of years ago, and it was really bashed up. It needed a good clean, and the glass was all scratched up. There's nothing really that Polywatch couldn't fix, but I got the feeling that the person had actually worn this watch. So let's talk about price. I paid about £60 for this on eBay a couple of years ago. You can't get them for £60 anymore. It's more likely £120, £140 for an average conditioned one. If you're going to go for one of the earlier versions like the Fat Boys, then it could be anything up to £400. You can, however, buy them brand new from CWC, and they're around 220 quid, I think they are. The challenge is with that, it's not the real deal. It is a real watch, it's exactly the same. But half of the enjoyment is, as I mentioned, those numbers on the back, is the fact that this was actually the issued thing. But it's kind of the difference between Omega Speedmaster moon watches. You're not actually buying a moon watch, you're buying a version of the moon watch, or a production of the moon watch. It's not that actual moon watch. But if you could buy the moon watch, that would be so much cooler than buying just an off-the-shelf version of the moon watch, if you get what I mean. These that were actually issued are cheaper than the new things, so it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? This watch is epically unluxury. This watch isn't fancy. It's a time-only quartz watch. It doesn't get more simple than this, but it has true heritage. It was built for a proper purpose, and I think that's pretty cool, especially for the price. I think for the price, it's epically cool. Guys, drop me a comment down below and let me know what you think of the CWC G10. Also, let me know if you've come across a watch that is similar to this, that is within that kind of affordable realm, but also has this level of heritage or meaning. just a proper watch that's within the affordable sphere. Guys, if you like this video, then hit that thumbs up button. If you like the style of this video, then hit that subscribe button and a little bell icon so you get notifications when I drop a new video. If you want to check out articles, previous videos, or check out our shop, jump over to barkandjack.com. We're putting up articles every other day. And if you want to check out the shop, there's just a little shop button on the top right hand corner. If you're on Instagram, give me a follow at barkandjack. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care.